Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advancement Center, where magic happens and miracles are expected. On the surface, it appears that today is the 21st day of June, and we here in the Northern Hemisphere call this day the first day of summer. And this puts a smile on our faces. Look with me at what had to happen for me to deliver this most important message that must be shared. Genya had to have her days off changed, and David was scheduled elsewhere on this day. Therefore, Friday update with Barbara. Yes, June 21st is just another page on the calendar, and it carries so much. It's the first day of summer, warmth, freedom from constricting schedules for our children, freedom from constricting clothes, homework, lessons, memorizing, and days at the beach. And the word summer brings a smile to all faces. The message that summer brings is happiness. And the truth is that it is not limited to a date on the calendar. It is the gift of life that is inherently ours to enjoy. I've played many roles during this life so far, both on stage and off, with many different hats. And what carried me and kept me afloat was my most important ability, talent, trait, or whatever you want to call it, the ability to listen for the real, while hearing what is not true or what is just out of tune. I listen to my children, my clients, my associates as they spoke. In those times and always, it was and is imperative that we check to make sure that the happy switch has not been turned off by any external influence, and more importantly, by the one speaking. That's just blackmail. This most important message is to listen to your spirit and then follow closely. This reminds me of a tale I heard long ago. This man was sitting in the middle of the violin section of an orchestra. He had to withstand the disdain of his fellow musicians because they accused him of always playing out of tune with the rest of the musicians. Until one day, the heavens opened up right above the concert hall, and the symphony of heaven played the most beautiful music that had ever been heard. And yes, it was matching our violinist's every note. Magic happened. Everyone's instrument was then tuned to the creator's pitch. The frequency has been lowered officially, and this was done purposefully. Do you see the control we have all been under? Now, I know that the divine is listening at all times. Because why else would I, when we're turning off all our iPads to prepare for the broadcast, all of a sudden I had to look at Facebook, and look what I found. This man, his name is Alex Cherniak. And here it is. Music projection. If the instrument is tuned to 432 hertz versus the default bullshit, pardon my French, A at 440 hertz tuning, I tune all my guitars to 432 hertz. Still think that there's no global conspiracy to weaken, poison, and depopulate the humanity? From his comment, it says, a scientific cymatic image, A note being tuned correctly to 432, not 440 hertz. The musical A note, when tuned to 440 hertz, creates no geometry, no structure, no complexity. A tuned to 440 and imaged by a scientific cymatic imaging device looks like a puddle of murky water. And if the right image of the right frequency, 432 in this case, is imaged, and here I just printed it out. So that's why I'm excited. And here it is. Not a murky, muddy puddle, but a beautiful cymatic picture of what the music is. Isn't that exciting? I was thrilled. So now, with all that said and done, congratulations. You have arrived here on this, our elevated platform of living, where magic and miracles occur, and our pitch is set to our creators. We are the industry of magic and miracles. We are all instruments of change, and our purpose is to be living the gifts we have brought from our origin. Simeon's words to me, as I wrote in my journal this past Wednesday, I just read it. It said, Friday's broadcast will be a most important one for you. It's all happening. And all you have to do is be aware and mention it and celebrate it. And that ushers in more wonder and more joy and more reason to celebrate. An image came to me while I was considering this message. I saw two train tracks. One is the express track and the other is the local track. One train peels off to stop at all the local stations where there is a need to please the locals. The high-speed one travels down the middle with access tracks to join the main one with directions from the master conductor. Can you maintain your rightful place on the original train of thought and steel? The truth, sometimes elusive, must be present at all times. Happiness is your natural state, regardless of your time zone. June 21st in Australia is their first day of winter. I experienced that. This has been an awakening as to why I have always crocheted afghans for my family and dear friends. These expressions of love, caring, and appreciation have been present in creating afghans of comfort and my true expression of love for all humanity. And now it's my pleasure. My daughter, when she heard, well, she surprised me for my birthday, and she created this book. And in it are pictures of all My grandchildren, my children, and any other pictures she can get her hands on are in this book. I just discovered that I can print them from my phone. So here are a couple of Afghans with people that you might recognize. Mickey, Kathleen, David, and Genya. And I'm delighted. And there are many more to come to be printed. But I wanted to share that with you because all of a sudden, I'm not just making Afghans, I'm fulfilling my deepest wish and providing comfort and safety and warmth. Now, here are some outlived anecdotes from my past, but I think they serve something, and perhaps you'll let me know what. One that comes to mind is I was in the 3rd grade, and we each had a book, and the question was airplanes, page 41. I still remember the page. And I was very frustrated. The book didn't have a page 41. And I made the great big mistake of telling Miss Rush, this book doesn't have a page 41. And she never explained that this was just an exercise in learning an index. And all you had to do was put down 41. But instead, she made an example of me and called me incorrigible, a word I'd never heard before. I think she even had me sit in the corner. I'm not sure. But when I looked up the word, it probably was pretty good to hear because incorrigible means incapable of being uprooted. So that's my Miss Rush story. And then in the 9th grade, I had Mr. Gross, and it was an art class. And today we all had to do an abstract drawing. And I sat there for the longest time. It's hard enough to draw something in front of you, but to draw something abstract. So I sat there. And then finally, I drew something that was, I still see it. It was like a flagpole at the bottom. And then I just, you know how you can color it so it looks like there's a bunting on the pole? And he came and he stood over me and looked at my drawing and said, "That's terrible." I was crushed. First of all, how can you judge an abstract without even, with nothing, nothing to support me? It just made me feel terrible and that it wasn't acceptable. Well, if that was the 9th grade, I would say maybe 25 years later, I was taking a guest from out of town to see the UN. And we went to the Dag Hammarskjöld meditation room. And for anyone who doesn't know Dag Hammarskjöld, he was the Secretary General, and he met with an untimely death in an airplane crash. And he was beloved. And I remember walking in there and you had to walk, and right in front of you was black velvet curtains, so it was black. And then you walked around and you came into this room with a long table, and at the far end, there was a tapestry on the wall, and I walked up to it. It was my abstract drawing. It was a fallen man, the flagpole, and he was Swedish, and it was wrapped in a blue and yellow bunting. These things happen, and it's important to see them as little hints from my origin of being able to see, to know, and to feel as a child. And that was wonderful. Yeah. I've also had some amazing experiences when I worked in psychiatric hospital. And I often said to myself, what am I doing here? What is the purpose for my being here? Other than the fact that I'm locked behind the same barred windows as the residents, and the only difference is that I walk around with keys and I can open and shut doors. And I just could not see what was happening. But now, in retrospect, I met some of the most wonderful people there. Wonderful people who were never understood. And Robert says, always protect the visionaries because they're not understood and they are truly seeing. And when I worked there, I felt truly seen and loved and welcomed every time I walked into their area. As a matter of fact, there was one time, well, there's no sense in my telling you there's no love at the psychiatric centers and they're just warehousing people. But I brought a little bit of a difference when I met this one man who told me his story, and I won't go into it right now. But he was a good friend of Khalil Gibran's. And when his money was running out, they said, oh, go to America. They take care of seniors. So he did. And he went into a senior home and he said it was worse than death. So that's what he was trying to do, is to exit here. And that's why he was in the psychiatric center. He was pulled in. The first time I met him, I said, what are you doing here? And he told me his story. And at that time, I was doing a sensory awareness class every morning. So I invited him to come. And it was very simple. It was exercising every muscle group and cognitive skills and what are you smelling and just waking people up to what they're sensing. And he looked at me with disdain and said, all right. And he got down on the floor and did 20 push-ups. So I said, okay. Well, we started a dialogue and I kept bringing books to him and matters got really not very good for him. In fact, well, I don't want to go into all the details, but I will tell you that he was going on a hunger strike. So I told him, I said, you know, you're too important. You're very, very important. And we're going to do something. I don't know what, but we're going to do something. And it was after hours and everybody had gone home. It was the middle of the shift and I was stayed after my shift was over. So I ran down to my office and I remember a cup of soup and I came up and I went into the break room where all the staff cook their lunches. And I invited him in there. And this is a picture I'll never forget. I share it with you now. I made him a bowl of soup and I had some crackers. And he enjoyed it and said to me, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be home with your family." And I said, "I am with my family." Well, I asked him, I said, "Oh, it started out with," he said, "Have you ever had the food here? It's like wet cardboard." I said, "Okay." And that's when I went to get the chicken soup. So I said, "What would you like?" And he told me, "I want an onion for strength, chicken for nourishment, and something else I can't remember." And I was so excited. On the way home, I stopped and bought all that. And I brought it in the next day. He never got it. But the happy ending, I would never tell you a story without a happy ending. The happy ending is that I was transferred to another hospital, but I said to the art therapist, "Get him out of here." And she did. And the last we heard, he was a chef on a kibbutz in Israel. That was a little bit of a fractured story, but if I could, I would make him an Afghan. It's so important for people to feel kindness. And you don't feel kindness in these systems. And that's what we're changing. Yeah. Yeah. Robert says, protect and cherish our visionaries. Wonderful ones I have met through the years. Lives I have touched and lives that have touched mine. You have no idea how wonderful it is to share these stories with you and then to have this amazing library of Robert's words to call on. And December 2nd, 2016, he said, "As humans, we are designed to receive and transmit from every part of our being. And this has been used to control us as a mass entity. If, however, we transmit first, we are capable of deciphering what we receive in a much more powerful and exact manner than ever before. This can only be done if we have our own personal power system working. We must be alive and sparkling with the energy from our origin and the motion of our own spirit. just like little children who can't wait to get out of bed and play. When we take the initiative, everything falls into place, and the world of magic and miracles becomes a reality once again. Simplicity follows, and you lift yourself beyond all worlds to the vast expanse of your own being and its ventures beyond infinity. Thank you, Robert. And then 5 years back in August, Robert said, from here, or continuing, I should say, from here, there is only one observation, and that is nothing is as it seems, except the reality that knows this is the case. The next part of that reality is to see that nothing will ever be the same or be a derivative of the past. The foundation of society will change and it will serve the new reality because it has no option. This advancement of society will be felt in the next few days, and it will not be a part of any action by society. It will be a step into another world that will no longer support the disturbances of all the old systems. If you look from the old world, you will see everything failing. But if you look from the new world, you will see everything new and totally separated from the past. Once you observe the obvious, there is nothing else to do but enjoy the newness of everything and look past what is presented from the past without even acknowledging its presence. Your early response to something new will bring excitement and progress that you never imagined. And no matter what your position in life may be, you will prosper in the new environment of your new reality. That's so appropriate today. And that was written 5 years ago. Now, let's see where I am. And continuing on that same date, this is most appropriate. All that is needed in life is life itself, and there is nothing that can take its place. This fact is something that has been pushed into the background, and all influences that say they are more important than life itself are false. If we look at all the examples, we are amplifying the effect of their reality in our lives and therefore playing the reprogramming game that has been set up to confuse our reality. Those who have almost lost their lives and have been given another chance are reluctant to do the things in life that are not to their liking. This relates to everyone and is accepted because of particular circumstances, but it is never taken up as a reality by those who have not had a major experience. The programming continues, and the beauty of life is overdubbed by the needs and wants of the social world. All this is about to change, and the needs and wants of the social world will be available as a secondary function of life. The table that defines life will be taken away, and it will be seen as a hindrance rather than a necessity. The natural dignity of humanity is returning with the removal of unnatural laws and regulations. Training will no longer be controlled by pain. It will be encouraged by self-esteem, and reward will come because of the effort and desire to succeed. Isn't that what we all have always wanted? And this wonderful, wonderful one from Simeon. And I'm just reading portions. So can you imagine the picnic and the banquet I've been on? Choosing, let's see, what will I read? And this goes with that, and this promotes this, and this was said on January 1st, 2019. Simeon said, health, happiness, and a way to move forward flow with every opening every day. And the energies that we bring will enhance all of these things to a level that we cannot explain. All the dimensions are becoming transparent in a way because we have allowed them to open into our field. And those who look after their own dimensions are feeling quite safe with our presence. So as we take on the life of a young child again, all our measuring systems disappear, and all the limitations that are based on measuring systems no longer apply. This is the gift of life itself. Enjoy one another and love every moment. Thank you once again, your loving friend, Simeon. Oh my goodness, I was going to stop, but I can't because this is too special. The special desires come from the world of your Creator, and the physical world beyond all worlds are something to be excited about. They come from nowhere in particular and grow with every movement or event that enters your day. It is therefore reasonable to assume that something that is out of context with your present life that may seem to be for someone else is actually for you. All the experiences are yours, and although they may include others, they are totally yours to experience in your own special way. This has been a very special event in my life because somehow or other I thought I had to shut the door on the past. But all of a sudden, treasures started to appear. And if something has a treasure as its essence, sharing is important. So thank you for listening to my sharing. And there are many, many more Afghans to come. I know that. And there are more pictures to be put into the album. So what is your Afghan? What is your expression? We all want humanity to be strong, loving, and filled with all our brothers and sisters, and all expecting magic every day. Have a wonderful summer solstice. May this be the beginning of a most magical time for you. I give you all my love and my wish for a perfect life, perfect health, and a truly magic future. Thank you.